Processing. Please wait. Who remembers being a teenager? Who is a teenager? Who plans on being a teenager? Teenagers say and do reckless things, illogical things, unreasonable things, things that make adults go, ooh, and kids go, ah. And they claim to do it because, that's what they're doing. They're living. They do strange and unusual things that make people question what is going on in their mind. Well, I'm a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. I don't deal with anything that's not a teenager. I deal with them all day. And although I'm a teacher, I've been called all of these things at one point or another. I've been referred to as a counselor, a mentor. These are the nice ones. Jailer, that's a good one. That's detention right there. If you're ever curious. Mom, that one's my favorite. Dad once, that one confused me. Not gonna lie, all right? But basically, you need to understand something. This is a really, really simple picture of a brain, and I don't need you to know much about it other than these three little things. That big blue section, that's right here. For all of you that's curious, that's your prefrontal cortex, and it's responsible for reasoned thought. In that part of your brain, you make decisions based on logic and reason, consequence weighing, and thinking. Then you've got that little orange section, that's the hypothalamus. That's your emotional processing center. It's where you actually learn how to feel and retain memories, which will go out into the other parts of your cortex. And attached to it, you have these two little almond shapes. It's only one on this picture, but it's on both sides, called the amygdala. And the amygdala has got all the dopamine circuits and neurocircuitry in there, which does positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and all those fun things. Fun part about this is, well, we have these big bridges, huge bridges in the adult mind between the prefrontal cortex, the big blue area, and that gut instinct area. But in teenagers, well, that's not the case. In teenagers, you are actively remodeling your brain. You have a brain when you're a child. We all know this. Children, you agree you have a brain? Excellent. Adults, we know we have a brain. Teenagers are reconstructing their brain. They're actively killing cells off. Wait, they're killing brain cells? Yeah, daily. They're taking a sledgehammer right to that bridge and destroying it at the same time as construction. Now, if you have been in the UAE long enough, you understand that if you need to build something, you need to break something down, preferably at the same time and reroute traffic. Okay? That is the teenage mind. They are rerouting traffic through some pathway while breaking down something, building something, and neither part's quite fitting yet. Adult thought, impulse, reasoned thought, action. Teenage thought. This is the whole processing, please wait section I'm telling you about. The bridge is out, people, okay? Traffic is being rerouted. There is an impulse. That impulse seems so good. And I'm going to do it right now. That McLaren is calling my name. If I sell my house, I can have a McLaren. The McLaren does not have a bathroom. Okay? Obviously, I did not buy the McLaren. Teenage brain, McLaren, awesome, fast, speed, what bathroom? Then they need to go to the bathroom. That reason thought bridge is so narrow that sometimes it's actually behind. You get that impulse, that idea, this seems good, I'm going to do this right now. Or that looks like a really good idea. Or say something, and their mouth is a foot ahead of their brain. And then something comes out, and you're like, why did you say that? Say what? That! I don't know what I say. Did you even think about what you were saying? Yes. After? Was that really a good idea? Maybe not. So why did you do it? Oh. Okay. So we're good? Yep. Okay. And they'll come to you with all these things, these crazy ideas, these memories, these plans, and you're just like, whoa, 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 no, don't tell me this. No, did you think this through? And they're like, totally thought this through. I'm like, really? Yeah, no, maybe not. Well, we all need something to blame. People like to blame peer pressure. They like to blame bad parenting. They like to blame good parenting. The friends, the food, the video games, the cell phones, anything that they can blame. I give you something to blame. Right here, is something called kisspeptin. It's that really giant molecule over there. I don't know if you can see it that well. Called kisspeptin because it was discovered in 1996. That means it's younger than me. In fact, I was almost a teenager when it was discovered, so too late for my parents. But this protein, discovered in 1996, Hershey, Pennsylvania, where the Hershey factory is, which makes kisses. You getting the connection? There we go. There we go. Well done, guys. You have just used your brain actively. I like it. But what it does, it's produced in 3 places. Your hypothalamus, that emotional processing center. It's produced in the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland is coincidentally where this very other common, shall we say, trigger is also made, called adrenaline. We're mixing adrenaline with the let's do something stupid protein. Evolution? When I get my hands on you, we're going to talk. And then it's made in the pancreas, literally part of your gut system. So, what does it do? We don't know. We don't know much about it at all, actually, but what we do know is that it is the kickstart, literally like it's just going to boot you straight into puberty. Before anything else, this happens. It gets released and it stimulates the huge cascade that we like to call the attitude phase. Everything gets kicked off by this protein. And there's a whole bunch of people who get back together every single year. In fact, the 3rd conference just happened in March for kisspeptin 2017, Brain and Beyond. Super awesome title. What did we discover? Not much. We just know that it does a whole bunch of stuff and we're still working on it. But if you don't give it to mammalian models like rats and bunny rabbits, you get really, really big babies. They're still babies. They don't do anything adult-like. All right, this is like adults who would spend their entire time coloring rainbows on your walls. So, now you have somebody to blame, but I got bad news for you. This bad boy starts causing changes. Starts causing changes around 14. Causes these changes for the remodeling of your brain. It takes a giant sledgehammer and it takes what it calls a plan. All right, and that plan is let's listen to the environment and change it so that when we need to use stuff, we have better access to it faster. Now, that makes perfect sense. But it takes the sled measure and starts breaking down these bridges. It continues for about 10 years in girls, about 12 years in guys. They're building bigger bridges, people. Okay, they need a few more years. Problem with it is it doesn't end at the magical 19 to 20. Teenagers are not the only ones who are doing this. This process continues till about 24 to 26. I'm barely out of it. So this reckless, impulsive, discovering nature behavior is happening for a decade of these young people's life. And during this decade, that whole hypothalamus amygdala center is up-regulated. It is hyper. It is insane. It is super excited. And it is excited without talking to the prefrontal cortex, which means it is super excited to do stuff, and the person who's supposed to be in control, the prefrontal cortex right there, doesn't know how to talk to it and be like, think about this. Are you sure it's a good idea? Well, no, but I'll think about that later. And, believe it or not, put them in the room with a bunch of teenagers, and they actually feed off each other. It'll upregulate even more. So anytime they're in a room with teenagers, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm feeling amazingly horrible and awesome at the same time, and I'm not sure why. And I love when they come into my class, they're like, hey, miss. Like, hey, what's up? Nothing. You okay? Yeah, fine. And then like 2 seconds later, they're like, miss, oh my God. I'm like, what? They're like, it is Thursday. Yep. It was Thursday 5 minutes ago, too. You still good? Yeah, miss. Why aren't you sitting down? Can I have your phone? Why do you want my phone? Just put the phone in. Okay, I'll put the phone in. But I get this behavior on a different level than their parents. I watch these same kids go to their parents, and their parents will be like, hey, how's your day? And they'll do one of these. Fine. How's school? School like? What did you do? Stuff. Do you have homework? No. Can I go now? And you're like, what happened to this vibrant kid? Well, sorry, parents. You're not their peers. And because of that regulation, it's actually evolutionary. They want to go and impress their peers because of that whole puberty thing. And their brain tells them, hey, if you go hang out with your peers, I'm going to upregulate the good feeling. And if you can get your peers to pay attention and look at you, I'm going to regulate it even more. And do you know what the fastest way to make your peers look at you is? Go do something stupid. Like, drive really fast. Or, you know what? Jump off the bridge. Or see how many burgers you can cram in your mouth at the same time. That's a solid idea right there. Just yeah. So every so often, you'll walk by teenagers and you'll be like, what are you doing? And they're like, nothing. Like, they're processing things at a higher, more elevated level. They are feeling things more intensely than an adult is. And the problem is they're feeling it without the control. There's a hole. They're processing it without the control of the prefrontal cortex. So everything is like, oh my God, what? I don't know. Okay, what can I do to help you? I don't know. Well, what's wrong? Nothing. Okay, take a seat. We'll deal with that later. So these dopamine circuits are kicking up higher, more expressively, and they're completely uncontrolled, and they're worse around their peers, which means that school's awesome, but when they go around adults, they're still firing, they don't know how to control it, and they mouth back. Uh-oh. So you got your parents going, why won't you listen to me? Well, the answer is they have a sensitive and reactive amygdala. Okay, what does that mean? Well, basically, fear, aggression, self-consciousness, depression, anxiety, all of these are really, really, really strong. And they're sending systems firing everywhere. But the bridge that's telling them, like, really, what are you afraid of? Or do you really think that's a good idea? Or maybe you should think about this for a second, is just flat out. It's not there. So Dutch researchers have said that the students will act in their environment, or the young adults will act in their environment based on their environmental feeds, which is good. So they get a rise from something, they're going to do it again. Toronto-based researchers took it one step further and said, okay, that's true, but if you change their environment, I don't mean lock them up. Okay, that's a bad idea. The more you lock them up, the more they're going to want to get out to do things. But if you can create a delay in their idea of impulse action and get them to think for themselves, even though that bridge is not fully constructed, there's still messages getting through there. So the environment has an impact on the child. We know this. So if you can give them the time to think, and this is why I called it processing, please wait. Very often, if you get them to step back and take a minute longer to think, hold them back, give them an idea, distract them, they will get distracted and they'll think about it and it won't be so far. Because most of the time, they won't actually know why they've done something. They've just done it because it seemed like a good idea or because it was that action from the impulse without the reasoned thought. Which means you're a role model. You want your kid to get off the phone? Get off your phone. We've also found out something in the last few years called mirror neurons. What these are there are neurons in the brain that are involved with, did I lose my mic? No, sorry, I think I did. I lost my mic. Sorry, guys. There we go. So these mirror neurons, what they do is they're involved in empathy and development of behavior. They watch you do something, and they learn from it. But believe it or not, it just has to be a human face, or a human-esque face. They do it with monkeys, too. So if you take a young child and put them in front of a monkey, and the monkey does stuff, the child will do the same things. Monkey see, monkey do has never been more true. But these developments go through that limbic system, and they process the same ideas. So you stay on your phone, they stay on their phone. You don't want to have conversation at dinner, they won't have conversation at dinner. But what this also means is if you surround them with people, let's say you want them to do something fun, and they're like, oh, why? I don't want to go. Be like, hey, why don't you bring a friend? Now, that does mean you're going to have not one, but two teenagers, potentially more, around you at the same time. And I know that's a threatening idea. Okay, it's kind of like feeding raptors. You've seen this, right? Okay, same idea. But if you bring two of them or three of them, they will feed amongst each other and also be controlling themselves. And you can make that positive environment that we were talking about, where you can actually have them around you, where they feed off each other and build these processes and this bridge, but you're there to make sure that that reason-thought bridge between impulse and action is you, which is kind of cool. So my advice, be patient. It's going to go on for a long time. They are remodeling, and they're not remodeling just one lane. They're remodeling the most important part of their brain. And they are becoming rational, reasonable, logical adults, one horribly illogical, unreasonable, reckless action at a time. And let's face it, I know some pretty reckless adults. Thank you.